guys, welcome to episode 1 of something new we are trying here, Everyday Offroad, the podcast. We're going to call them Tuesday TJ Talk. So they're going to drop every Tuesday, 4 p.m. It's just going to be us, nobody else other than guests that we have on the show, talking into a microphone about everything we know, TJ related, off-road related. Hopefully get some good information out to you guys, and this will be a way to kind of keep the channel more steady as life gets crazier. So does trying to pump out YouTube content. So if you aren't used to ugly people, you may want to go to a different channel. And I tend to talk a little slow. I'm just a guy from down here in Alabama, born and raised Central Alabama. So we aren't going to talk very fast. We're just going to go through, hopefully provide some good knowledge for you guys that have been following the channel for a while at our own pace. So without further ado, episode 1. So today's episode is just all about the beginning. How did we get started? Where did the Everyday Off-Road idea come from? How did I get into Jeeping? Why TJs? All that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, stick around. If you're not, maybe jump to the next episode, because like I said, we'll do one of these every week, or at least try to. And we will have varying topics. Next week is probably going to be all about my build itself. Today is more general. So like I said, stick around. If you're not interested in today's with the background of how everything got started, you may want to just jump to next week. So let's hop right into it. How did we get started? Like most people, growing up in the Southeast, at least, we as boys were probably way too obsessed with being in the mud, being in the dirt. I'm going to keep referencing we because my cousin Josh that has the silver TJ, it's always right behind me on the trail in every video. We grew up down the street from each other, and he's 2 years younger than me, and so we are more like brothers, really. I'm an only child, he's an only child, so when I reference we, both of us kind of went through the same process at the same time, even with him being a little younger. We grew up in the woods. Like I said, you could not keep us out of the mud, the woods, the dirt, the creek, of course, ever since probably 5 or 6 years old, when a kid typically gets his first pedal bike with no training wheels, or little battery powered 4-wheelers, whatnot. That stuff is just your classic story, and that's how both of us got into it. Every summer when school let out, we would, wake up, eat breakfast, figure out what we want to do for the day. The lot that I grew up on, 3-acre lot, actually just right down the road from where I'm at now, backed up to about 200, 250, 300, something like that, acres of just straight woods. It was U.S. Steel property, and hopefully they're not watching this. Because we grew up on their property. That's the easiest way to put it. We were back there from sunup to sundown, cutting trails. At the time, probably at this point, we're around 10, 12 years old or so. So we would go back there, blaze trails, find new mud holes, new creeks, and that was just our jungle. It was pretty much paradise to two 10, 12, 15-year-old boys. So that is where the foundation of us being in the woods, 4-wheeling and Jeeps and everything originated. So fast forward to 16, both of us get vehicles. I'm in a little red 2-wheel drive Dodge pickup. Josh gets this black LJ, which he turned 16 2 years after me, so I was driving him around for a while. He turned 16. He's actually the first one of us to get a Jeep, a real Jeep, and he got a '04 black LJ. It had like a 3 or 4 inch Skyjacker suspension lift on it. We didn't know anything about them at the time, and I still think Skyjacker's a decent product. But so he gets that. It's got a set of bald BF Goodrich or General all-terrains. But man, that thing is 4-wheel drive. It's lifted. It's what every boy's dream. So we start taking his LJ on some local rides, finding some local spots, some of which have gotten shut down, some of which are still open. And we just start hitting stuff in his Jeep. Every now and then, if it was milder stuff, I would take mine. I went through several vehicles at the time. But his LJ was really where both of us fell in love with the Jeep platform. Other than, I forgot to mention, we've had a CJ7 in the family for a long time. It was my grandparents, and you may have seen it if you follow us on Instagram or other videos on the channel. I've done a few walk-around type videos on it. We've got a 1984 CJ7. It's been in the family for umpteen years. My granddad bought it in the late 80s. I believe he's the second owner. It's an 84, like I said. So that thing's a jewel, and we've always had it. And with it being a 5-speed, I was one of the only ones in the family that could even drive it. So we'd get that thing out and running around, and we always thought that was the coolest thing. Now I got it. I inherited it when our grandparents passed. They were generous enough to leave it to me, and I have gone through pretty much every single piece on that Jeep under the hood, other than straight up rebuilding the motor. Got it running pretty good. Just got done with a timing chain on it. Threw it on a set of 33 Cooper STT Pros, and it's kind of our weekend vehicle. You know, I want the TJ to be on stickies eventually, so it'll be nice to have the CJ to kind of run around in. So that is a very long-winded, but I felt like not that long, explanation of kind of where our background originated as far as having to be in the woods in 4-wheel drive vehicles. So now let's fast forward to now. My current TJ I bought in 2019. So I've had it right over 5 years. I got my TJ bone stock. Went up to Gilbert's Jeeps in Athens, Alabama. They're known for having very clean TJs. Mine's not low mileage. I think it had 147 or 150 on it when I got it. But right before COVID, thankfully, I went ahead and got it because they were hard to find during COVID because everybody was going out buying them up because that was the only thing to do. That and mountain biking and kayaking and RVing seems to be what everybody got into during COVID. But so, yeah, I bought my Jeep in 2019. Bone stock, and when COVID hit is when I decided to pretty much make this channel. We were on lockdown. The company I was working for at the time sent us all home, which in a way was nice, but in a way it was just very strange. A lot of free time because there was no travel to or from work. My lunch hour, I would go down in the basement and do work on the Jeep. I would mow the yard, pressure wash the driveway, whatever needed to be done. So I said, you know what? I have learned so much off YouTube. What a better time to start doing something like this myself, everyday off-road being what I'm talking about, of course, than now. Got all this free time. I've got an iPhone camera, which is all you really need these days to be on YouTube. And like I said, I learned so much of how to work on my stuff from other YouTubers. Pretty much everything beyond what my dad taught me growing up as a kid and a teenager, I've learned on YouTube. So I wanted to take the opportunity to give back and the TJ has always been my dream vehicle. I knew I wanted one growing up. Being kind of a 90s kid, late 90s, early 2000s, the TJ was just the Jeep to me. I mean, the JK wasn't around yet. And when '07 came and the JK started rolling off the line, I said, no, those aren't it. Those don't look the same. They took the 4-liter out of it. It just looks much less like a Jeep to me. And I know that plenty of people love them. Obviously, the JKU is well known for the wheelbase in the off-road community. Family of four, that's the only way to do it. Nothing against that platform, just me personally. The TJ was it. And it was just the classic looking Jeep. Still had the flat grill, the JK's kind of slopes. You know, the TJ was just the epitome of a Jeep. And I think part of that goes back again to us having the CJ7 in the family for so long. That was just what I knew as Jeep. And TJ looks very similar. So I bought my TJ, started the channel with some basic oil change, transfer case fluid change, transmission fluid change, just very, very basic stuff. I changed the plugs and wires, did the exhaust manifold because it was leaking when I bought it, and just things like that to get started. And about a year into the build, I'd say, I got the bug to go bigger. We started wheeling, obviously, that's what we bought it for. And I knew that it was just not going to cut it the way I had it set up. So that's for next week's episode. Like I said, we're going to be doing a deep dive into my personal build, what all we've done to it, what regrets we have, because there are plenty, trust me, how we set it up the first time, how we set it up the second time, and I'm even going to hint on how we're going to set it up the third time, because that is coming, and that will be its own episode. That's going to be some huge news, so you're going to want to stick around for that one for sure. But looking at my list here, we hit on background, how we got into off-road. We hit on kind of why the channel got started and when the channel got started. That's pretty much all I had for this week. I'm going to try to keep these fairly short so I don't lose people's attention. The one thing I did want to mention, we will have guests on. I've already got several that I have talked to. First one's probably going to be Josh, just because he's my number 2 guy and he goes everywhere with me. We probably have a very similar wheeling style and everything. His Jeep's super nice. We've done a walk around on it, but it's been a while, so we'll talk to him about his rig and why it is set up the way it is, and various other things with him. So he will probably be our first guest, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now, because I've already got about the first month of these lined up, what I want to do. So yeah, that's a little bit of the background on me, how I got started, when we bought our Jeep, and why Everyday Offroad is the way it is. So Everyday Offroad is also not just a YouTube channel. We have turned into a group of very, very like-minded individuals that love East Coast wheeling. It really started with Josh and myself, obviously, and then I was like, man, let's turn this into a group of people that really, really get along, like the same type terrain. So we started holding little events here probably 3 or 4 years ago, just through mutual friends. Started adding on Ryan with the big stretched silver TJ that used to be Matt Graham's Jeep. He started joining us pretty early on. I was at Stony Lonesome, kind of our home park, about 3 years ago or so at this point. And Steven, who you may recognize in the white JL, also has the gray Stingray color JL. he was just in the parking lot up there waiting on his group and saw me unloading and said, "Hey, mind if I follow you?" So I was like, "Shoot, no, come on." So that's how we met, and we've been buddies ever since. Just other stories like that. So we are like I said, kind of like-minded, and that doesn't mean we're all the same people. It's just we get along on the trail, we help each other out, and we all kind of like similar terrain and difficulty level. We're running up to Windrock here, I guess the week after this episode of the podcast comes out. Kind of our big trip for the year. So just wanted to mention that we're also a off-road group. Overall, we probably have 20, 25 people in it. Got a little Facebook group just to keep up with each other and communicate. So that's another cool thing. Kind of having a platform like this made me able to have some sort of a brand to represent, and people would see me pull up at the park and be like, "Hey, I recognize your Jeep. Care if I come with you?" I've also tagged along with random people myself that I recognize. So just part of being in the Jeep community, you meet other people to ride with, find out what they like, what you like, and kind of go from there, establishing a good group that likes to run the same type of trails. So I was on Judd's podcast for Waypoint X, Judd Moore, who runs that, great guy. If you like JKs and that type of stuff, like to watch the Badge of Honor trails, he also has plenty of content similar to what we put out as far as Southeast trails. Go over and check him out. He's got a JKU on Dana 60s and 40s, so he's a little bit more built than I am, but he's a great guy. And the reason I mentioned that, he had me on as a guest on his podcast not too long ago, and I showed this, and I just wanted to show this as a little bit of background on why we went with a TJ. Like I said, the TJ was my ultimate Jeep, ever since a kid, because I was born in 95, so technically the YJ is what was out during that period. But as of 97, I guess the TJ was it. So from when I was 2 to when I was about 11 or 12 years old, really when you're the most impressionable during that young teenage years and everything, the TJ is what was the ultimate Jeep. So this is a poster that I saw in a barbershop with my dad in probably 02 or 03, because the Rubicon came out in 03. So I'll show it to you. Not sure how well this is going to come through, but it is a ad from a magazine where Jeep was advertising the first Rubicon. And I know you can't tell probably through the camera that this is a Rubicon, but it's got it climbing some pretty good little boulders here, maybe on the Rubicon Trail or something, who knows. And then it's got at the bottom, now that you've seen the picture, I'll turn it back around. Well, first off, the caption says, "When's the last time you got goosebumps traveling at 3 miles per hour?" Which I thought was funny. And then on the bottom it says, "Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, Dana 44 axles, Rock Track 4-to-1 transfer case, locking front and rear differentials," and then Jeep.com and some Jeep bling and everything. So this is when the first Rubicon was coming out, and this picture made such a huge impression on me that I saw one again pop up like on eBay or something about a year ago, and I was like, I want that. And they sent it to me, and it is the exact sheet out of, I believe it was the back of a Motor Trend magazine that I saw as a kid. And so this thing sits up here in our home office, whatever you want to call it. And it's just kind of cool memorabilia to have, because that is really where the foundation of me wanting a TJ. I saw that and I was like, yes, that's what I want. Of course, now ours is not a Rubicon. It's set up as a Rubicon, I guess, at this point with the Dana 44s and the 4-1, but much bigger than a stock TJ, obviously. But that's just a little cool piece of memorabilia that we have, and played a good part in why we chose to do TJs. We've been very blessed. The channel, I think as of today, is sitting about 7.3 subscribers, 7.3 thousand, I should say. We've had a pretty good following. A lot of that I give credit to starting in the prime time to start a YouTube, which was the 2020 COVID shutdowns. Nobody could leave the house, so what were they supposed to do other than watch YouTube? So part of that I attribute to just getting lucky, starting in the right time period. And part of that is there's not just a whole lot of, say this carefully, the people that tend to make TJ content and older Jeep content aren't necessarily sometimes the easiest to understand. Not that there's anything wrong with being old, but a lot of it is shaky phone video with terrible audio trying to do something. There's plenty of JK content out there, but there's not a lot of people still working on TJs and uploading them just because, shoot, they're 20 years old now or more. Mine is 20 years old this year, sorry, being an 04. So that about does it for this episode. I'm going to try to one-shot these episodes, but I tend to stumble and stutter and do weird things in front of the camera, so there may be a slight bit of editing on these, but the ones with guests and everything, we will try to one-shot it, have it kind of a open line of communication. And one day I would love to have some sort of live YouTube feed where people could type comments, we answer them, to a Q&A type thing. So if y'all are interested in that, please drop it in the comments. Again, this has been week 1 of the Everyday Offroad Podcast, Tuesday TJ Talk. Next week is a brand new episode, going to be very, very cool stuff because we are taking an in-depth dive on my personal build, how I first built it, how it's progressed, what all parts we've thrown at it, and then what is coming up in the future for it, because we've got some very big stuff coming. Thanks again, guys. Please like the video if you enjoy these. Let me know in the comments if this is something you're enjoying, if you're going to watch every week, and just let me know your overall thoughts because I value your feedback. So thanks, guys. Have a great week. This has been Tuesday TJ Talk with Everyday Offroad.